Chapter 10. Humble Beginnings. Launching a Naval Career. It's not what you achieve, it's what you overcome. That's what defines your career. Carlton Fisk. After 12 months aboard the USS Barry DD-744, Tony was transferred to a pre-commissioning school in January of 1961 to be aboard the USS John King DDG-3. He was assigned as the captain's boy of Commander Albert Monroe Sackett, the ship's commanding officer. Tony was one of the true plank owners, the terms for the first crew aboard the ship. At that time, he was able to communicate a bit in English, although he needed some more polishing. From November 1960 to January 1961, Tony attended the Pre-Com School Fleet Training Center at the Naval Station Newport, Rhode Island. There, he attended a firefighting school where they learned the different classes of fire, ammo handling of gun, Mount 52, and safety shipboard regulations before commissioning. The following month, he received an order to board the USS John King home-ported at Newport with Commander Sackett as its first commanding officer. Sackett was the first to rise among his peers from seaman to admiral. Their executive officer was Lieutenant Commander Tisdale. Tony was once again assigned as captain's boy to the commanding officer. As he was at the behest of the highest officer of the ship, and having completed the coursework for the pre-commissioned detail, he became one of the many first crew members to board the ship. The status of being identified with Sackett, even as a captain's boy at that, and the distinction of being called a true plank owner, was one he treasured with pride because it was not given to everyone. I worked for him with loyalty and dedication, Tony remembers. I found my captain to be friendly and congenial to me. When I felt totally comfortable with him, I mustered enough courage to talk to him. I thought I earned this privilege after showing him I worked hard for many months in getting his uniforms ready, shining his shoes, and serving him almost like a king. I thought it was the right time to ask for a favor. They were out at sea at about 9:30 in the evening when the captain went down to his quarters to get some sleep. While Tony was preparing his bed, he asked if he could talk to the captain. Tony pretended to be shining the captain's shoes and getting his uniform ready for the next day. Tony sincerely told him that he felt he was not using his talent for the job he was doing as his coffee boy. The captain asked what he wanted to be. Tony requested for a change of his rate from steward to dispersing clerk, paymaster's clerk, pay MCLK. Without hesitation, the captain replied, "No problem. Tomorrow," he said. "I will inform the XO and administrative officer of your request." Tony was so happy and relieved his hard work paid off. The next day, Tony was informed his request was approved by the command and he would be able to take the dispersing rate exam the following month. Although he passed the exam, he was disqualified because he took the exam he was not qualified to take. It was the wrong path for advancement for him since he could only take a steward rating exam and no others. As one with a TN Steward Man rating, he should have requested a SN Seaman rate to be able to take the exams for other ratings of his choice. With that information from above the command, his status was immediately changed from TN to SN. He considered himself at the bottom of the totem pole, dedicated to his job and to serving his superior officers as a coffee boy with pride. While serving coffee to his commander officer, Commander Albert Monroe Sackett, at the USS John King, their senior officer, Commodore Brian Macaulay, arrived for a visit. Tony served him coffee at the Commodore's stateroom. He struck a congenial conversation with Tony as he gestured towards him. Tony at this time was no longer shy, having learned from others, and was able to communicate in English fluently. He was at ease and able to carry on a conversation without fear or difficulty. With the Commodore was his personal steward man named Rinaldo Tuazon, whom Tony met before. He was from Balanga, Bataan, near the town where Tony came from. Apparently, Tuazon's father had passed away, and he was requesting for an emergency leave to attend his father's funeral. Since he had met Tony a few times, he recommended Tony to be his replacement, which Tony gladly accepted. In view of Commodore Macaulay's senior flag position, Tony was immediately assigned to work for him. The U.S. president at that time was Dwight Eisenhower. Macaulay's squadron was ordered to be deployed to the European ports to conduct a people-to-peoples program to foster close and friendly relations with America's European allies. Tony felt fortunate. As a young sailor, he would be able to visit places he could only imagine in dreams, like Dublin, Ireland, Portsmouth, England, Oslo, Norway, Gothenburg, Sweden, Kiel, Germany, Antwerp, Belgium, Barcelona, Spain, Athens, Greece, Bari, and Naples, Italy. By then, a naval message from Washington, D.C. had arrived informing Tony that he had passed his commissary exam. That meant he could be instantly promoted to Commissary Man Third Class Petty Officer, CS3 position. The Commodore was so happy with the results that he instructed Senior Supply Officer Lieutenant Cooney to sew the new rank to Tony's dungaree uniform. Tony went below deck to their berthing place and gladly showed to his shipmates the new stripes on his arm. Again, he considered it as one of the happiest days of his life. In view of Tony's promotion, he lost his job as a captain's boy, which he considered as a slave job. Since the Commodore could no longer keep him, he was transferred aboard the USS Lawrence, home-ported in Norfolk, Virginia. As a person with so much ambition in life and goals to achieve, he carefully studied what rating he should pursue to get ahead quickly. He concluded that a commissary rating, cook, baker, storage handler, food purchaser manager, and food stock inventory managers had a faster advancement than a disbursing rating, which had a much larger population and therefore stiffer competition. He chose the commissary rating, and true enough, he achieved the rank of Master Chief, CSCM, in a very short period of 16 years, a feat only few were able to attain. Normally, a steward rating is where many Filipinos stayed until they are able to retire.